Hello, this will be part one in the series, part 31 in the series, An Ancient Legacy. And just to have a quick look, I didn't spend too much time arranging it, but this will be about, just to add to the last version, about the importance and the meaning of New Jerusalem, this fate, the holy city as described in Revelations. And it's just one of these important aspects, especially in the Bible, because they're talking about units and they're also describing this all-important cube. And so, for instance, measured the city with his rod, 12,000 stadia, its height, depth or breadth, and height and length all being equal. But also he measured its walls 144 cubits by a man's measure, that is an angel's, which is another little interesting aspect. But 144 cubits being 216 feet. This story is by no means begun at the time of the writing of Revelations. It actually extends back to the Sumerian epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's one of the oldest written stories out there. But before we look into that, I'll just go through. So we have New Jerusalem, 12,000 by 12,000 furlongs. So 12,000 stadia in some versions, but with the King James Version they describe it as 12,000 furlongs, and that's important because you know exactly what a furlong is. And there will be a whole bunch of other symbolism, just the ones that are already prepared, but especially 144. So the surface area of each face is 144 million square furlongs. 144 is very important, again, repeated throughout the Bible, very important. For instance, the 12 tribes of 12,000 each, so 144,000. The walls of New Jerusalem, 144 cubits. And you'll find many other references to it as well throughout the Bible. Now, I'm saying this because this is part of an ancient legacy. This is older knowledge, which again, through weights and measures, has been just, the Bible is overloaded with references to the same themes. And New Jerusalem is an ABC 1, 2, 3 of this stuff. So you have 144, 432, 864, like a wish list of all these important numbers, 1728, and 792, 528. And these are the resplendent numbers that are just continued through modern architecture, that connected to the esoteric, but just to show that it's part of this, again, an ancient legacy. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem. The symbolism is it's not even hidden in important architects, artists, city planners, again, still to this day, Washington, Brasilia, Canberra, Astana, just being an example of it. Revelation 21:16, how he describes this. And what's interesting is 1 furlong is 660 feet or 792 inches. Now that's important. Again, I touched on it in the last episode. I was running short on time, so I didn't go into detail. But so the Gunter's chain is 66 feet. That's a surveyor's chain. If you're living in the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the Gunter's chain is more than likely your street is 66 feet wide. Your highways are 132 feet wide, twice of that. But 66 feet is 792 inches. But first with 66 feet, it describes in the canonical cubit, which is 1.728 feet, 1728, 1.728 feet, that's 1.2 cubed. That describes the moon. But the Ionic system, it also describes the earth. The long fathom, this ancient unit, which is also the Persian, also describes the size of the earth in that scale, also just happens to describe the weight of the earth, and also the speed of the earth at its minimum, 66,000 miles per hour, the earth orbits the sun. So the Gunter's chain is much more than what it's also incorporating phi. There's some beautiful phi knowledge in this chain, the surveyor's chain, but it's also at 792 inches. Well, just like 66 describes sun, earth, moon, and the speed and the weight, but also the 66 million year cycle as the solar system orbits the galactic core. It's going up and down from the ecliptic plane. At the moment, we're in this upward. We've just cleared the disk and we're heading up towards Hercules Lambda, or the Keystone constellation, and that's a 66 million year cycle, which is nice because at 66 feet is 792 inches. Well, our speed around the around the galactic plane is 792,000 kilometers per hour. 792, of course, describes New Jerusalem. That's 792,000 feet. And in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Ark of Utnapishtim, this ancient flood legend which predates the Bible by at least 1,500 years. There's some clay tablets go back to at least 2,500 years. It's a very, very old legend of the flood. And this cube, the original Ark was a cube, and that's 792 palms. Well, Sun, Earth, and Moon, 792 and 792 inches on the Gunter's chain. So that's one of the reasons. So again, 1 furlong, 660 feet. So 1 furlong is 10 chains, so 66 and 792. And 528, so 1 mile is 5,280 feet. 32 rods is 528 feet. But 528 is also one of the describing dimensions of each of the edge lengths of New Jerusalem. Also incorporates these numbers, but and that just happens to convert to exactly into meters as well. Just happens to. But you also find on the Ionic and Doric scale, we're also getting 33.99, so just like 66, 33.99, very, very important still to this day. The area, the total edge length, it's all like it is the sacred numbers that cross cultures, cross time, cross religion. We just see them repeated consistently throughout this description of New Jerusalem, the holy city. That's how it would look if it was a literal city built on the earth. It's 1,500 miles, so it's it's very, very big. This is an allegory. It's not a literal description because, well, look how big it is. New Jerusalem, King James Bible, they moved from the stadia to the furlong, 12,000 furlong, which that's. But as an example, so that's so for instance, the Doric, Ionic, Corinthian. These are caught still in Rosicrucians, Oddfellows, Freemasons, a Doric, Ionic scale. Well, 1188, and in the long or the Persian scale, 1188 is the Earth, 1188 on the Ionic scale, the female is 1188, Earth and Moon. 12,000 furlongs, so just 12 apostles, 12 people in the jury, 12 people on the board. Again, cross cultures, the importance of 12s, like 12 inches per foot, the Vesica 120 degrees, lovely number across 3 dimensions, 12 months per year, 12 constellations in the zodiac, or 12 ages in the cycle of precession. Precession's an important figure here. Now that just happens to convert at 72,000 Mohenjo-Daro feet. 1 Mohenjo-Daro or Indus foot is exactly the Royal Babylonian foot, which is relevant, we'll see in future episodes. But 72 is very important, so 72 years per degree of precession across multiple sets of ancient units of measure, including the modern imperial. We see descriptions of the sun and the moon. In geometry, again, just a constant, so astronomy, geometry, the heart, but 72 beats for the human heart per minute at resting, 72% water. Again, ancient weights and measure systems in a screen resolution, so it's carried through both in the Mayan and in the Yugas. We see the importance of this, Osiris and Thoth, both 72 being very important features. Across the Shaolin, Confucius, Chinese literature as well, again just written into modern, relatively, the Hermetic period of Anathanaeus Kircher, so the 1600s, back to King Solomon, 72 jinn or demons, 72 books in the Catholic Bible, and Jesus sent out 72 disciples in Luke 11. But that's important because the walls of New Jerusalem, 144 cubits or 72 yards or 216 feet. So 144 cubits, 72 yards or 216 feet. Well, the great year, the cycle of precession, is 25,920 years. That's 2592. Just to add a zero, you get the great year. Each season in the great year is 6,480 years. Again, 648. Each month in the great year, or a Platonic month, 2,160 years. 2,160 miles is the diameter of a moon. We see here 216 feet or 144 cubits, and already mentioned 72 years per degree of precession. So we see all the key precessional numbers in here, and we see them in all the ancient temples, cross time, cross cultures. It's just a constant. I won't go into the importance of 108 for the moment. Okay, so again, if you convert 12,000 furlong, that's 132 ionic fingers. That's again describing the Earth. Even the old weights and measure system with counting of fish, 144. Again, these, less like 108 or 864 or 216, these numbers are just overloaded with importance. And it's also interesting that's at 55,0000 ionic cubits. 55 and 144, what do they share? Well, think your Fibonacci numbers. This also, so at 12,000 furlong, 264,0000 yards, Sun and the Earth, again across multiple scales of measure, the same numbers, all converging on a very specific point, the same themes. For instance, I mentioned earlier 528 is in 5,280 feet per mile. Well, that 528 describes the Earth, and also 32 rods is 528 feet, 1 mile, 5,280 feet, 33 pounds is 528 ounces. The 32nd triangular number is 528. I mentioned 55 earlier. Well, the 10th triangular number is 55, and it's the 10th Fibonacci number is 55. So whether it's your triangular or tetractys numbers, Pythagorean numbers, these key numbers which are constantly repeated across these ancient legends and temples still to this day, always incorporate these same key harmony points between weights and measures, astronomy, geometry, arithmetic, and music. As for instance, the 528 solfeggio, I already mentioned 792. That's just one of these beautiful unity numbers. At 1,056,000, well, 1.056 feet is 1 long foot or Persian foot, as some have speculated, but used in Stonehenge Phase 1. Again, and the symbolism, whether it's Theosophy, Rosicrucians, Oddfellows, Masons, this just carries through. It's part of an ancient legacy. Of course, these symbols, such as the compass and the square, goes back to the oldest Egyptian paintings as well. And again, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, we just see these things. And so at 1188,000 Doric fingers, well, we see both Earth and Moon in both the Persian or the long scale and also the Ionic scale. It's just a consistent crossover, just so friggin' wonderful, and it's built into it. But okay, so the walls of New Jerusalem, 144 cubits or 216 feet, well, that's 36 fathom. Moon, 360 degrees. The degrees of a compass are divided up into 3,600 seconds. An hour is divided up into 3,600 seconds. And the Mayan, the 1 tun, is 360 days. Now this count also crosses over, and it's a beautiful harmony point between geometry, arithmetic, 216. So the nautical miles, 21,600 nautical miles describes the circumference of the Earth. 2,160 miles describes the Moon. That also describes 1 season of precession, or the walls of New Jerusalem, the Vesica, and even the cube, and even the 360 degree compass is broken up into 21,600 minutes, which is literally where we get the nautical miles from. Again, 6 times 6 times 6, 216, beautiful across dimensions. 288, perfect harmony, again, just bringing all these things together: music, temperature, size, arithmetic, geometry. 648, the same thing. It's already mentioned in precessional cycles, weights and measures, precession, the Moon, the Sun, and just and again, I already mentioned that, but again, we see the Sun coming up again. So New Jerusalem, here's another beautiful example of harmony points. Double that, you get 6, 9, 12. So just double it, and then you can get the diameter of the Earth, Sun, and Moon, all from these numbers. It's just an incredible system. It's passed on, part of an ancient legacy. And with that, hope you enjoyed this one and have a good one. More to